Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Happy Halloween. Today's webinar is Wickedly Good Residential Plumbing and Leak Detection Programs. Really excited for today's webinar topic and all of our great speakers we have lined up. Go ahead to the next slide. Put this in the chat, but if you're just joining us in, you can add your name, title, org, and your favorite Halloween tradition into the chat. Go ahead on next slide. And just to ground our conversation today, wanted to go through some shared agreements and norms for the group. First, respectful communication. When we're speaking about each other's and other people's lived experiences, let's be respectful of each other and our speakers, practicing an open mind to other ideas and perspectives. Be an active participator by paying attention, asking thoughtful questions, and committing to stay present throughout the duration of the webinar. And then we have an hour together and lots of great things to cover. So the AWE team will keep us on track so we can dedicate enough time to our speakers and foster great discussion today. Go ahead. And with that brief overview of our agenda for the webinar, doing welcome and introductions right now. Excited to read y'all's traditions in the chat. And then we'll have Andrew Morris, who is going to share a little bit of background on this topic and a little bit of AWE's work in this space. Then we will have our guest speaker presentations, who I will introduce later on. Save your questions from the presentations for the end. We will have a panel style Q&A with all of our speakers. And although you can't have your camera on to unmute, you can put your questions in the chat and we'll remind you all about that later. And then as always, we'll have some closing statements, share some resources and general AWE announcements, and then we will adjourn. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Andrew.
So I'm just going to give a 10,000-foot overview of some federal level policy work we're doing that relates to this topic. Obviously, you all are where the action is, our presenters today doing the work on the ground, but we think that it's time for the federal government to regularly and consistently start funding plumbing repair and efficiency assistance. So we've worked with some stakeholders, our members, to create a concept for a new federal program. You can find the details in this white paper on our website there. Next slide, please. But in its essence, AWE is working with partners to propose that Congress create and fund a new program, which would cover both repairs and efficiency improvements. And we're modeling this after a long-standing and very successful energy efficiency program called DOE's Weatherization Assistance Program. So we're basically asking Congress to do something similar for us. And just to be clear, this program doesn't exist yet, but it's something we're working on. Next slide. So looking at the program we're using as a model, this program has been around since 1976, and the federal government has funded efficiency improvements at 7 million homes. So it's a well-funded, long-standing program, and we think it's time for them to start doing something similar for our customers. And ultimately, it's the same customers, whether they need help with energy efficiency or water efficiency. Next slide. So with that, I want to just end. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to join a discussion about some related research where we're trying to help further define what the needs are, what assistance might be most useful, you can join us. And my email's there at the bottom if you have any questions about either the advocacy piece or the upcoming discussion about research. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Andrew. And I just wanted to highlight a few other organizations and utilities who have similar programs, just to highlight that, we're all doing what we can to advance work in this space. And just wanted to highlight these if you wanted to explore other options and learn more about what folks are doing. And with that, can go to the next slide. I'm so excited to announce our speakers for this webinar. They all have great programs and are so passionate about their work. And with that, I will briefly share their names. Penny Milton and Maren Schermer with Portland Water Bureau will talk about their home water leak repair program. Then we have Bryan Peckinpaugh with Detroit Water and Sewer Department, who will talk about their Lifeline Affordability Plan and the leak and plumbing services they offer through that. And then lastly, we have Tyler Kauff and Tiffany Nalley with Orlando Utility Commission and Oncourse Home Solutions, respectively. And they will talk about their partnership for a home water warranty program. So I will turn it over to Penny and Maren to kick us off.
Hi, y'all. I'm Penny Milton. I'm here with the Portland Water Bureau with Maren Schermer. We serve about 1 million people drinking water in Portland, Oregon, and we're excited to tell you about our home water leak repair program. Next slide. And we'll do questions at the end, just so everyone's good with that. Our program started in 1998 as a partnership with our county. On average, we serve about 80 customers per year. We can do multiple repairs in homes, but about 80 customers. We have the equivalent of a full-time person working on this, but no totally dedicated staff at this point. However, we've just received essentially a $500,000 per year grant from our Clean Energy and Community Benefits Fund, which is amazing, and it's going to allow us to have a full-time 1.5 FTE associated with this program. Our budget has changed a lot over the years. We've gone from essentially, around $60,000 for many years up to now $750,000 to be able to expand the program quite a bit. Next slide. Here we go. So our program works specifically with customers living with low income. You can see the income requirements there on the side. And our main goal is to make sure that the leaks that people experience are not creating a financial barrier or creating a hardship on them being able to retain their homes in Portland. Next slide. So we fix freshwater leaks, and we do this by working with our partners. So you can see them on the screen. We work with 2 nonprofits, African American Alliance for Home Ownership and Community Energy Project, and we've worked with them since 2020. But like I said, the program started as a partnership with the Multnomah County Weatherization Program. So essentially, as weatherization folks were in people's homes and found leaks, they could then fix them through funding. But we've changed it quite a bit and now have a broad referral process that we work through with our community partners, and Maren will tell you how that works. Next slide. Oh, great. Okay, before we get there, I want to just talk really briefly about water savings. Happy to dig into this more with folks, but right now our annual average impact, we're estimating about 5.5 million gallons per year. You can see the breakdown in hot water saved. And so then because of that hot water savings, we have some associated energy savings and then a combined total carbon emission equivalent savings due to basically the amount of carbon that's wrapped up in delivering and treating the water that is leaking, and then how much we've saved based on that. And then there's additionally savings that you can see to the customer, and that's based on what they would have been paying in water, sewer, and electric bills. Next slide. Thanks.
All right. So this slide more or less walks us through the process of how a customer gets from submitting an application to our program through having their repairs completed. So to start out, the customer, which is in that orange box there, submits their application, and then the utility, that's us. We check the customer's eligibility and prioritize the customer on our wait list. We do maintain a wait list just because our program has limited capacity and there's so much need out in the community. So it's necessary to find some way to try and allocate those resources in the way that it will have most impact. So we prioritize primarily based on the leak gallon per person per day, but we also take into account the social vulnerability index of the census tract where the customer lives, their financial hardship, and other factors as well. Next, we refer out the customer to one of our program partners that Penny showed on one of the previous slides. And then those partners coordinate the repairs with local plumbers. The plumbers complete the repairs, and then we, the utility, follow up and send a copy of the invoice. We've already paid the invoice, but just send a copy for the customer for their home records. And we also assist with getting them a billing adjustment if they're eligible through our customer service program. All right, next slide. And here are just a couple of customer stories that we wanted to highlight. These are pretty representative of the kind of repairs that our program does. So the first customer, their water use increased huge amount. They accrued a significant account balance, and this was due to an underground leak. So our program was able to replace their service line and stop the leak, and then we were able to help them get a bill adjustment to help eliminate some of that account balance. The second customer, their water use fluctuated, and they also accrued an account balance on their water account. And this was due to 2 ongoing leaking toilets. And so our program was able to replace both leaking toilets and resolve the issue. Next slide. So here's a short list of what our program can fix. So we're focused on fixing water supply side leaks, so drinking water leaks. So we can repair or replace toilets, and we replace them with WaterSense labeled efficient toilets. We can repair or replace faucets, outdoor spigots, leaks in wall pipes, underground pipe leaks, and we can replace inefficient clothes washers with Energy Star labeled efficient models. Next slide. And here's a rundown of what our program can't fix. So anything that isn't a supply side leak is something that we are not typically able to help fix. That includes drain leaks, any sewer related leak. However, we do see a significant number of amount of need for these repairs in the community. So we were trying to work into our contracts for next year a little more flexibility, so that because we don't have a good option for completing these repairs right now in our community. So we're trying to be a little bit more flexible about this. But as of right now, we can't typically help fix those or irrigation systems, leaking roofs, or most water heaters. However, if the water heater is leaking, it may be eligible for repair. Next slide. Here is a breakdown of the repairs made by type through our program. This is from fiscal year 2022-2023. So that's the most recent year we have all of our data kind of brought together. So, but the data is pretty similar year to year. So about a quarter of our repairs are toilet replacements, and then the rest of our replacements make up a smaller proportion. But you can kind of see how the breakdown goes there. Next slide. And this is a summary of the average repair cost per type, again for fiscal year 2022-2023. So service lines are by far our most expensive leak repair. And these make up about 5% of the number of repairs that we do, but they are so much more expensive than the other repairs that they're a pretty significant chunk of the funds of the type of leak repairs that our funds go to. So definitely worth noting. And then the other repairs make up or have on average smaller costs, but it's interesting to see the breakdown after a year is over. All right, next slide.
So we've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't. I'm just going to highlight a few things. One of the main positives of our program has been working with our nonprofits. They have amazing connections in the community. They're trusted. They're able to bring folks into our program that wouldn't find us in other ways. And they have the ability to contract with a lot of different plumbers, which as the city is a very difficult thing. So we allow them to do that and take care of just one contract with that nonprofit. The other thing that's worked well is, as Maren talked about, we do some follow-up with the customers, so survey, and then creating that invoice packet for them for their home records and making sure that we get them through that process of the leak bill adjustment credit, essentially. A few challenges, so just highlighting the drain and sewer repair limitations. So while we can only fix freshwater leaks that come into the home, that water has to leave, and it's really hard to go in and not be able to fix clogs and plumbing or sewer side plumbing repairs that are needed. So we're working to incorporate that as we get some of this new funding. Also, we've found issues with personal belongings, blocking access to what needs to be repaired, or things like microbial or growth or mold in the home. So we're trying to build in some more flexibility around how we address those barriers to actually getting the repair done. Same would go for like homes that are grounded on their old water line, and we have to do electrical grounding as a part of a service line repair. A lot more challenges, a lot more successes. You'll get these slides. Next slide. Just to highlight some of the outreach that we do. So mostly people come to us with this program. We haven't done a lot of outreach because we've had such a high wait list for a long time. However, we try to make sure this program information is available at any point that a customer gets a high use notification. So a letter or a door hanger, it's all available in 5 languages and speaks to our program being there for folks. Our customer service staff are trained. We use a WaterSmart portal with folks in our Build Discount program. And so we're communicating about the program there. And then through community events and workshops and partnerships with other home repair Portland programs that can let folks know if they're doing roof repair and they have a plumbing issue, hey, you can talk to the Water Bureau about that repair. And that makes the funding go farther for everybody. And that's it for us. We'll answer questions in a little bit.
That's awesome. Thank you, Penny and Maren. It's great to see all these questions popping into the chat. If you'd like to respond in the chat, you can do so. Otherwise, we can hold on to those and address them at the end. So now I'll turn it over to Bryan Peckinpaugh with the City of Detroit.
Oh, wonderful. Good afternoon, and thank you for having the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department participate in this webinar. My name is Bryan Peckinpaugh. I'm the Public Affairs Director with the City of Detroit Water Department. I'd like to walk you through our safe, affordable drinking water program, and it has a conservation component. Next slide, please. So what we want to talk about today is that how we look at affordability and safe, affordable drinking water. Every decision we make, whether on the water or sewer side, we run both systems, is made at a level of considering water affordability. We also wanted to create, rather than looking at the funding sources and what's available, we flip the script, so to speak, and we look at creating a program based on what low-income households can afford, and then with mechanisms for water conservation and erasing arrearages. And then we secured funding to develop, launch, and advance this new income water affordability program that includes a conservation piece to it. Next slide, please. So this timeline is purposely messy, and it's been messy along the way since 2014 between the City of Detroit doing mass water shutoffs for non-payment. 44,000 households had their water shut off, to the United Nations coming here, to the Flint water crisis in 2015 and 16 related to lead service lines and drinking water there. And then our assistance program, which was called RAP, which was a regional program, and how we took the COVID pandemic and restarted all our water accounts that had previously been shut off to turn their water back on. That was 4,000 households. And then now into our new program, which is also being a model for a statewide legislation that's going to be considered at the end of this calendar year. Next slide. So we've done this work in the last, as you saw in the previous timeline, in the last 8 to 10 years. And we've been doing it by also keeping the rate increases low, below 3%, 2.9% to be exact, on average every year. Whereas the previous years, we were at significant rate increases, but we've been able to improve our operations while also improving our programs and doing new interventions for low-income households and plumbing repairs. Next slide. Now here we're going to talk about water affordability. So instead of developing which is very valid, a plumbing repair program, a standalone program, we decided to integrate it into our water affordability program, which was launched in August of 2020, excuse me, yeah, August of 2022. Next slide. So I'd like to show you this video that walks you through real quick of our new Lifeline plan.
You or someone you know need help with the water bill? Are you low income and have plumbing leaks? The Detroit Water and Sewerage Department is here to help. The DWSD Lifeline Plan is Detroit's new water affordability program where qualifying customers' monthly bill can be as low as $18 a month. That's water, sewage, and drainage. No one has to lose their water service if you apply to the DWSD Lifeline Plan or any of our other assistance programs. Once enrolled in the Lifeline Plan, you receive water shutoff protection and your past due balance is erased for good. You will receive up to 4,500 gallons of water and sewer service per month at an affordable fixed bill amount. That's $56 a month for Tier 3, $43 a month for Tier 2, and $18 a month for Tier 1 customers. High water users who exceed 4,500 gallons of water are eligible for minor plumbing repairs to help keep your water bill as low as possible. DWSD has developed this water affordability program to keep everyone's rates low. This is also why water conservation is built into the program. Once your water debt is erased and you are enrolled, please pay your income-based monthly bill to stay enrolled in the program. Take part and tap into the Lifeline Plan today. To apply, call Wayne Metro at 313-386-9727 or complete the online application right now at waynemetro.org/DWSD Lifeline. DWSD, working hard for you.
Rachel, thank you for showing the video. Next slide, please. So you obviously got the gist of the Lifeline program, but we wanted to compare our Lifeline plan with our previous plan, which was an assistance program called RAP, which is still offered regionally in the suburban communities, and they have improved it to offer more interventions. But the previous program, as it was designed, was more of an assistance program. The $700 credit toward past due balance up to $1,400 over 2 years, whereas our new Lifeline program is you start with a zero balance. No matter if you have a $50 balance, delinquent balance, or you have a $5,000 water bill balance, you start at zero. They offered a $25 monthly bill credit. The new program, as you saw in the video, is at an $18, $43, or $56 based on the household income. And it has a conservation measure where each household member gets up to 1,125 gallons of water per person per month. And if they go over that, they pay the normal rate, the water rate, and they get triggered for the plumbing repairs. Our plumbing repairs, as you see there, went up from $1,000 based on water audit to $2,000, thanks to state funding. And then this example of a household of 3 was $60 monthly bill. 86% of our enrollees in the Lifeline Plan are at an $18 per month bill and get plumbing repairs. And then our previous program had a 2 years max limit. Once you were in the program 2 years, you could never, ever re-enroll. Lifeline Plan does not have a max limit because the need doesn't change. Many of these, there's some generational low-income households as well as long-term low-income households that need this support. Next slide, please. So again, we through our Lifeline Plan, we offer it's an income-based water affordability program, shut-off protection, past due balance erased upon enrollment, affordable fixed monthly bill based on household income, and again, 1,125 gallons of indoor water usage per household member per month. How we do that is that upon enrollment, the administrator, Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, asks for not only income, but number of household members. So that's how they get that threshold. And then eligible for minor home plumbing repairs. Next slide, please. So here are the 3 tiers. So how we got to this was we took an average of 1.8% of household income to come up with our tiers. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, believes that either between 2 and 3% of household income is the max that most people can afford for a monthly water bill. Based on an advocate study, a water advocate that's based out of DC, and some universities, they said that 1.8% is a better threshold. So we went to the max, and that's how you get a $18 monthly all-in. We call it the all-in bill, $18 per month. And you'll see how many people we have enrolled in just a moment. But we have 4% at the tier 2, which is up to 150% of poverty level, and 10% of our enrollees are at tier 3, which we go up to 200% of the federal poverty level. Next slide. Now, we must address 3 buckets of need in our Lifeline plan that was very deliberate. We pay off arrearages and gap payments. So what does a gap payment mean? That means the difference between the $18 bill, if you in that $18 threshold, and what your normal monthly charges would be. The average bill in Detroit for a family of 3 is $86 a month. So if they're at the $18 bill, roughly $60 that we have to have funding to pay for that difference, that gap. We don't pay it through the rate system. We pay it through state and federal funding and philanthropic funding as well. And then plumbing repairs, the conservation piece. Next slide. So here are some of our funding sources. We did launch our Lifeline plan in 2022 with the help of the LIWAP, the federal pilot program for low-income household water assistance program. Detroit received, the state of Michigan received several $1 million. Detroit specifically, we got $10 million. And so we use that to launch the program. And then we also get annual funding through a regional program, $3.5 million, another $7 million from the state, and an additional $7 million through a state appropriation through our Health and Human Services. We were very fortunate. Our state administration legislature is very supportive of our program and changing water affordability in the state of Michigan, and they're working on statewide legislation right now, and these are appropriations that are being put in the state budget in the meantime to help Detroit and other cities in the state of Michigan. Next slide, please. Oh, here's the big change. So our water residential assistance program, the previous program, at any one year, we had 4,000 households enrolled. In our Lifeline plan with the tiered rate, tiered bill, we have 26,000. This is as of this week, 26,721 households enrolled. We have a new payment arrangement that we just launched in July. There's 11,000 households enrolled in that. That's not income-based. And then we have 5,000 applications that are being reviewed for our Lifeline plan. So we have 43,000 of our 207,000 customers. There's 200,000 residential customers, households that we serve in the city of Detroit. So 43,000 of them are protected from shutoff for non-payment. Next slide. And so for our plumbing repairs, what we do is if a home enrolled in the Lifeline plan, their usage based on the AMR meter on a monthly basis, if they exceed the allotment per household member, depending on their household members, we looked at that usage over a 3-month basis to see if it's risen and it's continues to rise. We also, on a regular basis, not only for the Lifeline plan, but we do robocalls anytime someone's usage goes over 0 during the nighttime hours, and it's not their normal usage between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. We actually send them a call that says, hey, you might want to check your toilets or check for a leak because it looks like you have higher than normal usage during the nighttime. So we did that courtesy as for all our customers, not just the Lifeline ones. But for Lifeline, when they get enrolled and are eligible for the plumbing repairs, we replace faucets, especially if they're lead-based. Whether the faucet's leaky or not, we'll replace it if it's lead-based. We fix or replace toilets if inefficient toilet or leaky toilet. One of the first year that we did the toilets, we replaced 742 toilets in our first year of the program. And then we repair small leaks in these homes. Next slide. And then we've looked at a whole year of data, looked at all our accounts, and then compared it to from where they started when they enrolled into the Lifeline Plan or our assistance program. They actually received plumbing repairs. And so what did their bill look like after a 12-month period? And on average, they had a 23% decrease per month after the plumbing repairs took place. After a full month after the plumbing repairs took place, they had a 23% decrease in their water bill at the time after the plumbing interventions. And then the average plumbing repairs now through our Lifeline Plan average about $1,700 per household. And we have provided repairs in the last year of more than 2,000 households in the Lifeline Plan. Next slide, thank you. And then so how do you get to a point where you have 5,000 applications and you have 26,000 plus households enrolled, which is about 70,000 people? Well, we door knocked houses. So we took our delinquent accounts and merged them with income census tracts, and we found out 49,000 households were actually potentially eligible. We door knocked those households with information about our Lifeline Plan. We also held enrollment fairs. We held 700 community meetings. We published a significant amount of stories, because when you go from a city that just 8 years ago was doing mass shutoffs and we don't have assistance for you, you can get in a payment plan. That's all the only avenue. You go from that to having an income-based water affordability program with plumbing repairs. It's significant. We've taken advantage of reporters being able to help us tell that story. And then paid advertising, then we do regular communication because the Lifeline households do have to re-enroll to make sure they still are income eligible for the benefits of the program. Next slide. And this is what it looks like when you go across the city of Detroit and start door knocking all the houses, and they visited the houses twice if they didn't answer the first time. That's what the door knocking effort looked like for us. Next slide. And that is our presentation from the city of Detroit, and I'll be on for questions later. Thank you.
Amanda, I think you're muted.
I'll just jump in. Thank you, Bryan. I don't know what's happening with Amanda's audio. Thank you for that presentation. And we'll move on to Orlando. Tiffany and Tyler, thank you.
Oh, good morning. Well, afternoon. We are an afternoon, everybody. So I am with Orlando Utilities Commission. We are a municipality. We serve around 240, 250,000 customers at a given time, water and electric. But for this presentation, obviously, we are focusing on the water portion. You can skip a slide or two here. That's my introduction. Tiffany, if you would like to.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tiffany Nalley. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at American Water Resources, an Oncourse company. I've been with the organization for 15 years, and our partnership with OUC started in 2015. So I've been around to assist in some type of capacity since then. And I think it's a true testament to the relationship I have with Tyler that he's willing to come here today to talk about the home warranty program. So thank you, Tyler.
Thanks. I have been with OUC for 18 years. I think I started as a little baby, still here. And yeah, like Tiffany said, you can go to the next slide and we'll kind of discuss a little bit about it. So like I said, we're the second largest municipality in Florida. We do water and electric, mostly Orlando, but there are unincorporated parts of Orange County. And we also do electric in St. Cloud, Florida, which is just south of Orlando. And we did launch on tax day in 2015. I was here from the start. Our IT side wasn't even prepared yet, so I had to manually start around probably 400 to 600 programs in our customer system. That was a fun start for me. And yeah, we have 10 products currently. We started with, I believe, 5, and we're up to 10. So we do add when we find something that customers seem to want or need. We can go to the next slide. Just a quick agenda. We're going to talk about the rationale. Why did we choose them? Why did we partner together? We're going to talk about that partnership and some of the things that we offer and what that does for the customer. And then obviously we'll have the big Q&A at the end. Next slide. Here's the rationale and affordability challenges. So this was a study that was actually done in 2021. The average drinking water score in the US is a C-. I know Florida is actually a little below the average. People think Florida water is swamp water, so they don't want to drink it. J.D. Power scores constantly show where all Florida utilities are sort of in that bottom decile, bottom quartile of drinking water and how safe it is. 6 billion gallons of water is lost each day in the US due to leaks, and $7.6 billion loss in 2019 due to leaks. We can next slide. So financially speaking, especially since COVID, 37% of Americans do not have enough cash on hand to cover just a $400 emergency expense. And what does this mean in the end? It means if they have a small leak and their utility bill hasn't skyrocketed, they might live with that leak, which over time builds up. But they don't have the funds to cover it, or they'll wait to save up until they do, or they'll do a buddy fix, which doesn't really fix the problem in the long run. 56% of Americans less than $1,000 in their savings account. And then 25% of Americans have no emergency savings whatsoever. You can go to the next slide. So what we did is we took some study results from J.D. Power study, Cogent studies, and it showed that customers want programs billed on their utility bill. They want warranty type programs. The utilities who had program offerings usually had higher scores than those who did not. I think customers enjoy the ease of it. It's just right on their utility bill every month. They can pay it. They don't have to pay another entity. I mean, you go through the month, you may have 10 different bills to pay to 10 different people, whatever it may be. So there was some financial value, of course. It strengthened our brand as the utility. And just the customer value, that peace of mind, it was dependable, it was a total care solution in one package for them. They didn't have to reach out to 20 different organizations to get things done. They didn't have to find their own vendor to make a repair. Next slide. And then this is kind of the talk of Oncourse. So Tiffany, you can handle this one.
Yep, I'll take it from here, Tyler. Thank you. Next slide, please. So who is Oncourse Home Solutions? This is a snapshot of us by the numbers. We have over 20 years experience providing home protection plans for customers. We have 1.5 million and growing customers. We have a 95% CSAT score for post-claim customer surveys. This means we've provided a service and customers are giving us this feedback. So 95% is really great number to show. We currently have 35 partners. These partners consist of gas line, water line, electric utilities, and we do over 200,000 claims annually. So customers are getting the programs and they're using them. Next slide, please. And in terms of OUC's customized protection, as Tyler said, we started out with 5 programs on bill, and over time, we've added on other programs. I want to speak about the customized solution. So OUC in Florida, they have a lot of storms, they deal with hurricanes, and so AWR created a program specific to meter-based surge. So meter-based surge program is an actual device that goes on the electric utility to help prevent surges from happening. So it's an actual device that goes on. And so we created this specifically for OUC. And the last product we added, which we probably should have added in 2015 because it's really hot in Orlando, is the cooling program. Next slide, please. And we're really into community involvement. We have an H2O fund with Orlando where contractually we have $50,000 set aside each year. And OUC can use this at their discretion. If they ever have a customer complaint that comes in, they can say, I want you to resolve this, pay this out of the funds. We also do a similar type of setup for an H2O fund with our Philadelphia Energy Authority partnership. It's a little different though in the fact that we tailor to low income. And so if a customer can't afford the means to take care of the service line repairs, the partner will send over a referral and we take care of the entire claims expense and we replace that service line, we restore their services.
And I will add in, I'll add in on this slide for you, Tiffany. So the main reason we did this fund was A, for customer support, but B, we do have a lot of customers on low income, and we have an audit group that goes to their house, performs an in-home audit, and sometimes we have customers that are behind on their bill, and if they're behind, generally they need to become they have to pay in full to get this service. So what we do is we have a leak adjustment team that after the repair is made, they'll do the leak adjustment on the water bill. But if they're behind and they can't catch up, then we will come in and have AWR or Oncourse perform the repair now, and we'll go ahead and cover it out of that fund so the customer does have that ability to actually catch up on their bill before they fall too far behind.
Thanks, Tyler. All right. So I know what some of you may be thinking. Why is Oncourse Home Solutions trying to talk to you all today about water efficiency? And one thing I want to point out is that when you become a partner with Oncourse, we take that experience with the customer very seriously. And so if you're dealing with leaks and people not paying and the affordability challenges, that's where our company can come in and help. Because regarding a claims experience timeline, if that customer has a leak and that water is turned off, we consider that emergency. And we have strict guidelines to resolve that customer leak within so many days. So we do help to reduce non-revenue loss through this partnership. And if you're interested in anything that I've said today and you want to know more about what our program is and what we have to offer, please shoot me an email at tiffany.nalley@oncourse.home. And really appreciate your time today. So I'll kick it off to Q&A.
Thank you both so much for sharing, and thank you to all of our speakers for sharing. Just confirming, you all can hear me now, right? Okay, great. It's so awesome to hear how you all have centered equity and affordability in your programs, and I think it really shows in all of your success, and you're all getting props for your programs in the chat, so you should be very proud of that. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A, so feel free, everyone, to pop any questions you have in the chat, either for any speakers specifically or all of your speakers. While everyone's typing and thinking about their questions, I saw a few in the chat about water savings and how you all calculate water savings through your programs. So maybe we can start with that discussion. If you want to kick us off, Portland friends.
Yeah, I just answered part of one in the chat, but I'm going to try to do just like an overview of like how we calculated this, and I'm open to any ideas. So if folks have suggestions, let us know. So we essentially, for every type of conservation action, so a faucet replacement, a toilet replacement, we associated an average gallons per day in savings for that action. That's multiplied by the number of those types of repairs that were made. And then we are assuming a year worth of savings as if that leak would have gone on for a year. We know that the customers we're working with have very limited funds and may not be able to resolve those leaks without our intervention. So that's just the assumption that we're making. And then we, to get the carbon emission savings that we're talking about, we're associating both the energy costs with freshwater treatment and then also the wastewater treatment, as well as the energy associated with heating for hot water associated leaks. I think those are the basics of how we're doing it. Are there any questions related to what I just said? Okay, let me know if they come up.
Do any of our other speakers have thoughts on the theme of calculating water savings?
As a municipality, we have to do a lot of reporting for conservation programs and efforts. So we have a rebates program. If you buy a new toilet, you can apply for a rebate, and we can track that same way that the average savings on that toilet, the low flow versus the original toilet, same thing with water heaters, things like that. But for our program, we haven't added this in, but we are talking about it. We're about to. I think what we are looking at doing is finding that peak usage. We do have AMI, so we can get readings on 15-minute intervals. So we're taking that peak usage possibly, and then when we do that by the average time that it takes somebody to fix a leak, we're kind of doing that into the savings since Oncourse makes that repair within about 72 hours at most. So if we can fix it within this time frame, but an average person takes this long, we've just saved that much water.
So in Detroit, to determine our savings, we actually did a rate study before we launched our Lifeline plan. And we looked at the water usage over a 3-year period and in different quarters of each year to see what the average usage was based on household occupancy for households. And that's how we actually got to the threshold of our conservation piece of allowing up to 1,125 gallons per person per household member in our Lifeline plan. And then that's how we actually also developed a tiered regular water rate system where we have 2 tiers for our water rate, one based on that 6 CCF threshold, and then anything over 6 CCFs, which is 4,000 gallons in a household, would be at the second tier rate level per CCF per 748 gallons. So that's how we started. So there was a path to get to the affordability program as well as the plumbing repair program. And we evaluated the plumbing savings based on looking at 12 months of usage and total bill amounts for the 2,000 households that were in a plumbing program.
Thanks, everyone, for your insights. There were a few questions coming in about qualification, so I want to turn the discussion in that direction. Jessica asked a question here. Has anyone developed a program that does apply towards renters? If so, how is that handled in the qualification criteria? And then there was a prior comment about resubmitting income qualifying proof and how often y'all check if customers qualify or not. So feel free to answer any or all parts of those questions.
I could step in on that. So we do allow renters into our Lifeline water affordability program. And because renters do have the option to have responsibility for the water bill as long as it's in their lease agreement. So We allow them also to get plumbing repairs, except for the toilet part, because that's a significant improvement in the household. But if they have leaky faucets, we will repair them. And of course, the landlord hasn't complained about getting improvements in their rental property. So we're able to do that with rentals as well. And the state funding allows us to do rental and homeowner occupied conservation measures and income-based affordability.
For Portland, we do not allow renters to get the repairs in their home. It's a challenge that's come up, but they are getting the bill discount. So part of our program is based on our overall Portland bill discount. And so, yes, they can, like we were just talking about, like they can be enrolled in that program, get a discount, but not get the repairs made. We try to advocate for them through other parts of the city, but that is a challenge. And we've just made that decision to not do renters right now, but it's something that we're thinking about because it does come up quite a bit, especially with landlords that just refuse to make repairs because the customer is paying the bill. As far as the income eligibility, we are doing that through our bill discount program right now. However, we've created an additional entry point through our partners. So if we didn't want to create a barrier to folks who might qualify for programs that our partners have going that might be a higher MFI, median family income. So we created an option for them to come in through our partners or through the utility directly. So there is some flexibility in the income requirements, and otherwise they recertify every 2 years through the utility. But we're moving towards just a self-attestation on income rather than having to submit documents to the Water Bureau. So hopefully that helps.
Tyler, it looked like you unmuted for a second there. Anything that you wanted
Sorry,
to
yeah. A third program I know, it's a different team that offers, so forgive me for maybe missing the details a hair, but we do have efficiency delivered, which is essentially in line with our rebates, but it works a little differently. So you'll perform an in-home audit, they'll see places you could save, and then it is income based that we will pay a percentage of an upgrade to your home. And the other percentage that you pay for, we also put that on your bill over X number of years. We spread that out interest free, and we'll put it on your bill for upgrades to your home to make it more efficient.
Great. We have time maybe for one more question if someone wants to pop one in the chat. Otherwise, one thing I was noticing as a theme across all your presentations was just being able to provide many different kinds of outreach materials and resources and connecting with customers in different ways. So I was curious to hear your experience, interacting with customers through those avenues and what feedback you all have gotten through that outreach.
Amanda, you're just asking about feedback from the customers that we get.
Yeah, or what kinds of outreach have been most effective and what feedback you've gotten from customers through that outreach.
Sounds like other programs are doing more outreach than Portland just based on our capacity right now, but we find that the most effective is just having our customer service staff really well trained in this, so that first line of, answer and questions and answers, they get directed to our program, and just having it in all of the materials that are related to high use has been effective. And I would also just highlight, like what I said about our partners, like folks coming in through our partners directly makes a big difference because they may not trust the utility or have as much experience with the utility, but they feel comfortable working with the community partner.
Yeah, for our outreach, we looked at doing advertising, but it's such a specific customer base because of the eligibility requirements and the income that we decided to do door-to-door outreach based on census tracts and our water balance data over a 3-month period. So we joined those 2 layers of data to come up with the 49,000 addresses, and we did door knocking. We decided not to mail either because we did some like at community meetings, some impromptu surveys, just anecdotally talk to people. A lot of people these days don't, because many bills are online, they don't look at their mail much anymore. So we decided the best avenue was to do the door knocking and then go to community meetings.
Thanks for those reflections. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the Q&A for today. Just wanted to flag, if any other questions come up, we'll be sharing these resources after, and I'm sure our speakers will be super happy to answer your questions as well offline. Thanks, Rachel. If you want to move on to the next slide. So just to wrap up our conversation and webinar today, I wanted to share a few other resources that you can engage with and explore in the topic of plumbing and leak assistance and affordability. We have an NRDC water affordability advocacy toolkit. I popped in some AWE resources as well, including the white paper that my colleague Andrew spoke about at the beginning of this webinar. And then lastly, a resource from our friends over at CalWEP on a research study they conducted to assess the needs for developing a leak detection and repair certification training for plumbers and landscape professionals. And they're continuing that effort to create some more trainings in that space. So if you wanted to learn more, you can reach out to them. And then lastly, as always, you can continue engaging with AWE in a variety of ways through these webinars, but also through our ongoing advisory committees, our education and outreach group, our water efficiency research group, and our water sense and water efficient products committee. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and happy Halloween. And thank you again to our wonderful speakers for sharing about their programs and for all the wonderful work they're doing to advance affordability and help their customers with their scary leaks.